But if you don't, I am Mercy. Thank you for joining. This is our Spiritual Collective Live. Welcome in.
Hey.
Welcome. Thank you for being a part of it. What we're going to do today is we're going to ask some really imperative questions and rest and reflect based on what we've gained from this past year and start to build that soul house, start to build that structure towards 2025. So I'm going to turn it over to those who are here, and we're just going to go in the order of the Hollywood squares, right here. We're going to do the clockwise. And then what we'll do is we'll go through some of these questions that we have, and we will be open as well to questions that are being submitted. So for those of you who don't know, we'll let everyone introduce themselves, but these are some of the most just profound spiritualists across the platform, healers, readers of all different intersections and modalities who are all so incredibly prolific in their own right, and they can sell themselves. They don't need to be sold either way. But we're just going to go around and do a little bit of a round robin to introduce, and then we will provide some insights as to what we experienced this year and the year ahead. So why don't we start with Rachel?
Hello. Can you guys hear me? Is my mic on?
Yes.
I've never done one of these styles of lives before. Hi guys. Hello. My name is Rachel Rose. I'm the spiritual leader to the High Vibration organization, and I do channeled messages, Reiki. I also do tarot readings, and yesterday I actually had my first in-person event through the organization, and we did a awesome vision board event at the local library, and there was quite a bit of a turnout. It was really fun. My goals for this coming year, we'll obviously talk more about them, but to really get the organization helping to raise the vibration of not just individuals on the app, which I love TikTok so much. I mean, so much, but in person as well, and start to do some specific events to raise the vibration of large bodies of water and the earth. So the organization is really about raising the vibration of not just individuals, because in that we will also raise the vibration of the earth, but making space for Gaia. And really, God's put it on my heart to cleanse large bodies of water and start some grid work in that. So hi, everybody.
Love so much. Okay, so we'll turn over to Tobias, a little bit of introduction and any reflections, quick reflections of 2024 or any goals that you have moving forward. That was a really good intro.
Can you guys can hear me good? Yeah? All right. So yeah, I'm Tobias. I started off as an astrologer, and throughout my journey of spirituality and going through my ups and downs, I got into tarot and I got into oracle reading, and now I'm at a place where I work a lot with spirit, and I've worked on my abilities through my heritage. And so I work a lot with the 21 divisions now through my Dominican ancestors. And that's something that I've been, really working on and just enjoying overall. I really like using this platform to connect with individuals as much as possible. I feel like it's really nice to just meet everyone and see their journeys and see where they're coming from. And right now I would say 2024 for me personally, it was a year of, I think the strength card really does embrace the energy of what I experienced in terms of having to just like go right into the flame and really hold that line and caress it and understand that we are here for a certain purpose. And sometimes it does take a lot of devotion and work to do so. And I would say one of my biggest goals for the next year coming up is to release my podcast with my partner, to bring people onto the podcast and to share their personal spiritual experience, however it is that they want to, share.
Amazing. Okay, Stevie, you're up.
Hey guys, what's going on? King Tyrone here, but my name is actually Steven, for those that don't know. I'm not really your formal type of spiritualist, I really keep it real. I try to be the best friend of what people need on this app sometimes. I would say for me, I've been reading tarot cards for the last 8 years, but professionally for the last year. So it's been, at least consistently for a year. And it's been an experience, I like to always try to encourage people more of self-care than anything else, rather than dabbling in what the other person may think or how their partner may feel, this kind of stuff. It's always encouraging about your own personal growth than anything else. Even if they may not like it, but hey, whatever, it is what it is. 2024 was an interesting, I think more again for me personally, to kind of just reflect and kind of use my experiences to also help and guide those that do come for me for some guidance and some help. So I don't really have much besides that, to be honest, but it's been a roller coaster experience here,
Love. Amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Math.
Hello, everybody. My name's Missia, also known here on TikTok as Emperor Queen Tarot. I've been here reading tarot on TikTok for 3 years now, which is crazy. But I've been reading tarot for myself and friends and others for about 20 years, so it's been a really long time. I started my spiritual journey when I was about, 20 years old, and, through different books that I've read and different people that I've met, it's just grown leaps and bounds. I am a birth doula. I'm an actor. And I really try to center my work around women and mothers because I'm a mother myself. I understand how much support we need and how much guidance sometimes we need because we're always putting other people first. So that's really my focus on women and mothers, but I read for everybody. 2024 was kind of life changing in a lot of ways for me. As I said, my normal day job is as an actor, and I got like a dream job where I live here in Vegas, and I'm doing things that I never thought I was going to do, but I'm doing things that I've always wanted to do, and it finally has all kind of come together in this beautiful way. So I'm very, very grateful for TikTok and this community and Mercy for doing this and holding this space for everyone and all of these other readers and, spiritualists, because we all provide so much love and support to the collective. And that's what I'm all about. So thank you guys for all being here too.
Powerful. Okay, Sin. These are, for those who don't know, I patron each and every one of these lives. So if you're ever wondering what I do when I'm not on the live, I'm in the morning. I visit Sin and her daytime live because she's on literally when the street lights go back on. She's on the first thing in the morning. But all throughout the day, I connect with all of these different amazing, powerful spiritual voices. So I'm really excited to see what everyone's bringing to the table today. But Sin, over to you.
Which Sin are we talking about? Because I noticed there's Sin City. So my name is also Sin. So I just want to make sure.
No, you.
Excellent. Thank you. And again, Mercy, thank you so much for putting this together. I feel like there's so many moments where, it's interesting, Tobias, that you mentioned the strength card. I feel like a lot of this energy this year has almost felt very much like hermit energy. Like it's requiring strength, but there's also a lot of solitude that I think, especially in the spiritual field, that we have to navigate. So it just feels really good to kind of be able to share the space with those that are on that same journey. For those of you who I'm just meeting or who haven't been introduced to me before, my name is Sin, also known as the Gray Strega. I am a claircognizant tarot reader. Thank you. And I've been doing this work for about like 30 years or more. I learned from my mother, who is also a very talented reader. I do my daily collective reads for the collective, which effectively read upon the energy moving into divine union. And I effectively separate that out into 3 different modalities, which is energy that is in separation, energy that is moving into divine union, and energy that is deep within divine union. I always like to articulate there's no qualitative point on these. There's no higher or lesser. It's all where we find ourselves on the journey. I also do a lot of work in a movement I call Tarot Church. A lot of the work that I do in Tarot Church is trying to help those understand and build a relationship with the cards, in the sense that I feel that the gift that the tarot provides to us is that it is non-denominational. It does not require a spiritual access point. I love the fact that the tarot is a mystery in terms of understanding where it came from, and in a way that means it's open for all of us. There's no one who can claim it. And I like to do a lot of work with both my students and clients to help them recognize how they can integrate tarot into their own spiritual or religious practices, not feeling like the tarot is moving them away from it, but rather bringing them closer to it. In that way, I also teach classes on the tarot, which you can find over on my Substack. And again, thank you guys so much for having me here. And I'm really looking forward to this conversation.
Amazing. Okay. The other Sin, Miss Dion from Sin City.
Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for having me, Mercy. I love this. As most of that are in this room, this is my first time being on like a live event with others. So thank you guys for having me. I appreciate it. My name is Dion. I call myself the Sin City Medium, baby, because there's no one else out here that claimed it, so I did. and I'm going to run with it. So what I like to do, one, I love mediumship. That's my thing. I love connecting people to their loved ones that have passed and helping them to change their belief about like life and death and how our loved ones are always with us and guiding us, right? Like as part of our team. Outside of that, everything about me is empowering our women and our youth, but during the lives and during my one-on-ones, it's about helping people to step into their power and change their core beliefs about themselves. I want everybody to know you are a bad witch. You hear me? That is the overall goal here, is people loving themselves and being empowered, changing core beliefs. It's what I do. It's what I love. And Mercy has been an amazing mentor. And I'm so thankful for her friendship. King Taro, I love you. And I'm so happy to meet all the rest of you. Emperor Queen, I've seen you live with her. I love you guys. I'm amongst celebs.
Thank you.
I love. Okay, and last but certainly not least, Cappie, our
Hi,
friend.
my name's Ryan. Most people know me on here as Cappie. Most of my content is Spanish because, well, I tried. My grandmother used to read tarot, and when I was younger, I was like pretty scared of it. But in 2018, I came across this guy who read on YouTube, and it just sucked me right in. So I ended up learning the cards, and I started reading for my coworkers, and everybody's like, so I started doing it on YouTube, and that didn't work too well for me. I guess, I don't know, something about me speaking it in English needed some refinement. Tried it in Spanish, and that's where things kind of took off. Over the past year, I would say it's been a lot of refining on how I read, learning about manifestation and the power of mind. And throughout the end of the year here, I've decided to more so go the teaching route. I told Mercy about this. I wrote some books on teaching tarot and astrology. So I've been putting a lot of time towards that. And it's really kind of like Sin City Medium here was saying, it's all about empowering people. Because there's people that will say, oh, you need to do this, that, pay me $300 and I'll fix you. I like to empower people to say, no, you have the power. You set your mind. You set your manifestation. And there's a lot of interesting stuff there when you use your power of mind. So that's kind of my goal when I read tarot cards. Pretty excited to help teach others find clarity with the cards,
I love your casual book stack. You're like, I just saw these books.
It just came yesterday, so I'm excited to have it.
No, I'm here for it. So that was a really good introduction. Thank you, everyone, for providing that insight into you and your background. So exciting. A lot of people are expressing excitement just to see everyone together. That was the goal. I was like, I know y'all are the favorites because y'all are my favorites. I know you, everyone else. That's why we're bringing you all together here. So the first thing I want to do is I want to do a quick round robin to provide a spiritual lesson that you learned this year. So it could be connected to the year specifically. It could just be something you learned within the time frame of the year. But one of the most profound insights or sentiment or a lesson that you learned this year that you feel like would be helpful to those who are connecting in this moment with us, and something that could potentially support people in planning for the year ahead. So we'll start with Rachel.
Okay, let me think here. There's been so many this year, and it's, for me, you hear a lot in this field, the art of surrender, right? And we think or feel into it and we're like, yeah, we can let it go. We can let it go. This year has been so much surrender and really learning how to look at something and know, even if you love it, even if you really want it, it might not be in alignment with you, and the healthy time to let that go and to have that kind of give yourself a little bit of that space of maybe mourning that, but also just realizing it's part of the process. For me this year, I love so many things in such a real and unique and genuine way that the thought of having to let something go in the past, I just didn't like it. I was like, I love it. Why do I have to let it go? And this year beautifully and thankfully learned how to really let some things go and notice maybe it's right for someone else and they might be enjoying it, or maybe it was right for me in the past, but it's not in alignment with me now. And I can't put what was in one point so in alignment in front of what my body, spirit, and source is telling me. And having that relationship with yourself and prioritizing the way you your body and your soul feels and what it's telling you beyond what the carnal nature desires, or what, there's a million things that part of you might desire to do. But if it is out of alignment with what your spirit is telling you, with what feels righteous to you, it's just not, so the art of surrender is something that I learned really well this year, and letting things go that are out of alignment and figuring out what that truly feels like for myself. And trusting in that. And I feel like for number 9, 2025, that's coming up, being able to fully be present in what I desire to do, what I desire for the world to do, I had to learn how to disconnect and release and surrender, because if you're in a million different places, especially in the past placements, you're not able to be fully present or fully moving in the direction you want to. So, that's what I think. That's what I feel.
Love. I heard a quote that actually is a good segue from that sentiment. It said, faith is actually not about holding on, it's about letting go.
Mm-hmm.
The idea of just having faith means we let go. We allow the tides of change. We allow the winds to take us where they may. We allow our seeds to transplant in a new garden. We allow ourselves to be moved to where we need to be moved. I feel like that's what true faith feels like to me, is really that the art of both surrender and detachment and letting go.
Attachment, that's the secret.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Beautifully said. And, it's really interesting too, Rachel, because, a lot of that conversation on surrender has been coming through a lot of my readings as well. And the thing about it is, I feel like a lot of it is, it's a lot of that like spirit take the wheel kind of energy. And that's what I like about it. It's not that surrendering that I've been reading for that says like give up. It's that surrendering that says that when we're working towards manifestation, it's a collaborative effort, right?
Yeah.
And when we're focused, like when we get focused and say it has to be this way, it can only come into my experience if it comes through this door. What we're really saying to the universe is, I don't want to work with you. I don't want to leave. And in the universe, I feel like is always whispering us and saying, if you could just release a little bit, I might be able to provide you something that could be even better than you can imagine. So I've been trying to like communicate that in my own readings, which is that sense of surrender that feels more like saying, surprise me. Like I'm here for it. Like give it to me. Like I'm gonna put it in your hands, right? Because often, like again, that moment that we trust another person, something can often happen that's beyond our wildest expectations. So I feel like kind of reorienting and reintroducing that idea of surrender to saying, surprise me. I'm gonna let this part go. Show me what you got,
I love that.
You know what I learned about that too? I love that you said that, because for me, I feel like the surrendering part, right? Because when we hang on to something, we're providing resistance. We're not allowing the universe to do what it wants to do. So something I've learned too is allowing peace to be my validation, because it has to feel right in here and bring me peace, right? So allowing peace to be my validation rather than someone's reaction or the way something is.
Write that down.
Letting peace kind of guide it, right? Because it'll feel peaceful to me. It'll feel right with me, and just let it go. Learning to go with that flow, allowing peace.
Allowing peace to be my validation. That is
Mindful
chef's
wellness.
kiss, my dear.
So I just want to call it a quote here. So mindful wellness said, right, when we hold on, we get dragged.
I love that.
Yeah.
Ain't that the truth?
Yep.
I really think.
And I see Miss Imani in here commenting. Hi, Imani. I'm just saying hi, shout out. Go ahead, continue.
I was just gonna say that I feel like the acceptance is like a 3-part thing, right? In working with the universe. So it's like clearly ask for what you want, whatever that may be. Then it's allow. So you have to see the little breadcrumbs that the universe might be sending to you. So for instance, and my viewers know this about me. 4 years ago, I was driving down the street and I said, I really want to see an orange car every time that like I feel in alignment, or every time my thoughts are in alignment with where I'm supposed to be and what I'm supposed to be doing. And I literally pulled up behind a car, and it was an orange car, and it said "Believe" on the license plate. And I was like, okay, universe, I'm listening. And literally from that moment on, it was like, okay, just ask and then look for the clues, look for the little breadcrumbs, look for the little signs. It might not be exactly what you want. So for the last 4 years, I've been seeing orange cars every day, or mostly every day. And this August, I was able to buy my own first orange car.
Orange car!
There you go.
It's like, oh my God, it's all coming together. And that's the thing. It's like you ask, you align yourself with it, and you look for the answer. And you look for the answer. I look for answers when I ask the universe, show me how good my day is going to be, or show me how much better this can be. I look for those things, and it just brings more and more in. So just really tuning into seeing the little breadcrumbs before you see the big cake. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Florence Scovel Shinn calls them direct leads.
Yeah,
and I love that so much. Ask the universe for direct leads, and every single time I use that phrase, it always direct. You always see the orange car.
Yeah.
I love this. I love it. So that was a really good interaction, engagement. So I want to move to how we prepare for the year ahead and what we do in terms of cleansing and healing and any type of ritualistic behaviors that we have as part of our personal practices or within our coaching or healing verticals. So we'll just start with whoever feels called to come forward. Does anyone have any cleansing or healing rituals that they have already planned that they do regularly or something specific to the year?
I would say meditation is a big one. The slide likes to go off. For me personally, I like sitting in the shower with the lights off and just letting the water run over me to feel like I'm being cleansed, but also like just drop down to the I am consciousness basic foundation. And from that point, you can kind of build what you want to see in your life. Neville Goddard coined this as the wish fulfilled mentality, where you start picturing that you already have the things that you have. And so you get that feeling going. And slowly the universe, the 3D catches up to the 5D, the 4D, whatever, however you want to call it, the imagination. The consciousness is where reality really starts. And that's how you can manifest that orange car that you can see along the road, or the signs that lead you to the path that you want to walk. So I think meditation, if you can take like 10 minutes, set an alarm, and just like zone everything out, be quiet the mind, don't think about anything, anybody, and just start from a basic I exist, and from there you can literally manifest just about anything. It's pretty crazy.
And to add on top of that, one of the meditations that I've been using with myself and with some of my one-on-one clients has been the candle meditation, and just it's almost like keeping the foundations strong. And that is one of the meditations that seems to really help people open up the third eye, but also keep it consistent while keeping themselves grounded, so that they still have the ability to move within life and not act or have like that spiritual ego to them, where they all of a sudden lose themselves and they start to kind of act in a way where they feel like they're more than someone else. And so I think that one of the rituals, at least for me, that I really like to do is bathing, like in a bath. So I like how you use the shower. Almost use a bath as like a big potion, or like a big pot. And I'll use certain herbs depending on certain moon cycles. And I'll kind of use the astrological signs to work in that frequency. And then I'll journal and then put myself in the bath and just sit there and contemplate, and just simply contemplate. Just like the Gene Keys and how they talk about contemplation, I feel like that part of meditation is huge too. So that's something that I really like to do. And I feel like it's strong in terms of manifestation. And it allows you to really feel what you really want, at the end of the day.
I love that. I want to get some advice as well, as it's in the same sort of topic or area. For those who are joining us today who are maybe just beginning their spiritual journey or have some progress along the path, and they're looking to be able to create their own program or ritualistic behaviors, their own practice, what advice does this group have for those individuals who are wanting to start out, and maybe they're a little bit intimidated, maybe they're a little bit overwhelmed, because there's a lot of information. The diaspora of information is hard to dissect. So what insight would this group have specifically for those who are beginning the journey or who are trying to create a program on the path?
Can I start and just say, don't put too much pressure on yourself to perform certain tasks or do like it's beautiful to have rituals and to feel through time what resonates with you, but with the abundance of spiritual knowledge and spiritual communication, a lot of the students that I work with, they can get overwhelmed and they're like, what do I do? How do I do it? What on which day do I do this? And how do I know? And it's like, oh, take a deep breath, relax, and first tap into yourself, into your solar plexus, into your energetic body, and see what it's speaking to you about what it might need. If you're comfortable starting with 5 minutes of meditation, that's where I always start my students. 5 minutes of meditation. We want to get to 15 minutes of meditation, but don't put so much pressure on yourself to be performing at a certain place that you see other people at, or don't compare, don't put pressure, just allow the flow to happen and allow it to unfold naturally. And like a flower, it just opens up and then all these things start to resonate, and have fun, play with it, see what feels good. That's my 2 cents.
If I could just piggyback off of that feeling good, that's for me the key to it all.
Yeah.
Like, it is how you feel. So I'm a person that's driven by impulses a lot of the time, but because I know that I follow the feeling, I follow the good feeling. So I could have no plans for a day. Usually that doesn't happen. But if I do, I'm going to follow the things that light me up, follow the things that give me joy, follow the things, because that can never lead you wrong. So I really do believe, like what you're saying, start simply, is starting with the feeling, like starting with thinking about whatever makes you feel good, whatever makes you feel confident, whatever makes you feel loved, supported, encouraged, all that. Like, it starts with that. And that is what emanates out and brings more of that back to you. But it definitely does start with how you feel. So if playing pickleball lights you up, go play pickleball. If taking a bath lights you up, do that. If it's smoking up, if it's taking a run, if it's walking your dog, whatever it is, the thing that makes you feel calm and fulfilled, that's where you start. And then everything else stems from that.
I think that's the one thing that piggybacks off of that as well, is I often get asked, how do I know I'm following my intuition versus more of insight that's coming from a mind-based place? And I say it feels different in the body. It feels different.
Mm-hmm.
Often when we have some type of pervasive thought, or there's some type of ruminating, we have this feeling of like anxiety. It's like it's almost like you can feel that it's only coming from this centralized place, where if we're feeling calm and peaceful and grounded, and even energized to some degree, again from that heart chakra based place, that's an intuitive cue. So I think, to your point, what feels good, and then just tapping back into your body to know, how does this really feel in my body, always coming back to how it feels in order to be able to ground the decisions that we're making.
I couldn't agree more, Mercy. And one of the things, and especially I think that the way that kind of falls into like someone creating their own craft or ritual practice, and that's why it can't really be qualitative, because if I'm doing something and it creates a state of anxiety in me, and another person does it and it makes them feel devoutly comfortable, then it's like, I often have clients and students that come to me and say, is this the right thing to do? And I'm like, well, how does it make you feel? And they're like, well, someone else says. I'm like, yeah, but they could do whatever they want, but that's not the same feeling that it engenders in you. One of my favorite messages that I ever got when I was doing a reading for someone is, someone was talking about the fact that they were like, I keep trying to do all of this like practice and like a ritual practice of something, and by the end of it, it falls apart. What am I doing wrong? And it was so funny because the message from Spirit was like, what are you talking about? Because they actually gave me the image of a party. Like, and when you're having a party, right? Like you set out everything exactly how you want it to be. Everything's got to be just right. When someone comes in, did you have a good party if at the end of the party everything looks exactly where you put it? No. If the party looks like a total disaster at the end, like you don't know what happened, like congratulations, you've done the party properly. And I like to consider like all of these practices, all of these things we find for ourselves. I like to say to someone, think of them not as doctrine, think of them as training wheels. Because when you hold on to something too tightly, again, you don't allow for that gentle surprise of something amazing or magical happening in the wake of it. So I love that conversation, and I feel like that's like, for me, and I think that really piggybacks off of what Emperor Queen was talking about, which is like following that bliss and then putting that bliss into some kind of like habitual ritual practice.
There's a bow tie statement you can add to that. One man's meat is another man's poison.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nailed it. Nailed it.
Start with what you're comfortable with, I'd say. Familiar and comfortable with. Familiar and comfortable, that's where you can segue into something that really works for you. Because if you try something from a completely different culture that you're not familiar with, it's going to possibly give you that anxiety that you're worried about. But your family was Christian and stuff like that, praying to angels can help, or just praying to the Bible can help. It's whatever works for that person individually.
Can I say something? Listen, hold grace for yourself, damn it. That's how allow yourself to do what feels good to you. What brings out your inner joy is the way I look at it, because one thing I've learned and it had to be drilled in me until I got it right was like just allowing myself to be, not holding myself to this linear path that I have to stay on, because there again, we looking for structure, because everything in our life is so structured. Society say we got to be like this, we got to do it like this. But the reality of it is when we connect to our higher selves and we're trying to figure out, what spiritual practices feel good to us, that's it. Feels good to us. Our peace. Where do you find peace? If it's outside writing, if it's sitting down with your feet up in silence, right? Like whatever that peace is to you, you create. We're co-creators. Create your peace. Do it your way.
Peace. Yeah. I think there's one more piece of commentary I think is important, and it's actually quite topical, given you're in a group of a bunch of different spiritualists who are all very gifted and talented and share their insight and wisdom with the collective. But it's very important that you do not devote yourself to a degree of dogma towards any spiritualist and really focus that energy within to be able to create again to what others have described, your own doctrine, your own practice. So do not worship any idol, false or otherwise. Right? Really allow yourself to connect deeply within to the church you're building for yourself, and allow yourself as well to be led forward from that heart-based place of self-knowing. And that is a gift in itself. Being able to even give yourself the gift to say, I'm going to be the one that leads my path. I'm going to be my own compass. That's the powerful shift. That's often when people see the most profound spiritual changes, is when they stop searching for answers outside themselves and they start accepting all of the power being within. Yes, surrender. Definitely.
Amen.
Beautifully said. I always like to remind my clients over and over again, a good guide doesn't tell you where to go. They give you what you need to get there.
Yeah. There was a question asked here. What kind of ritual practice strengthens our intuition for those who are living in survival? Great question. So who wants to start?
That's very tough, because living in survival means that person might be in a sympathetic state, and so their nervous system is very heightened. So it's hard we almost need to figure out a way to calm them down, bring their nervous system in a place of peace and some form of love so that they can start to then tap in.
Yeah,
sorry, go ahead.
I thought you were done. If you're in survival mode, you got to start with the chakras. I'd say start with the red, which is the bottom. Start with your foundation of safety and security. If you're in survival mode, then maybe you don't feel comfortable where you live. Maybe your environment where you're at isn't safe or doesn't feel safe. Maybe you're in a position where you don't have enough food. So take the actions that will help fulfill those needs. So like that, you have that foundational base to work on to try to get out of the survival mode. It's I forget the name of the triangle, but there's a
Maslow's hierarchy of needs.
Thank you. That's it right there. You got to start with you're feeling safe, so you can then build your way up to confidence level where you can truly start manifesting things and get into a flow state.
Love that. We had
one thing that gets out of survival mode or resets the vagus nerve is hot and cold in the shower. Doing those flashes to your vagus nerve, the hot and cold, seriously helps. Now, if there is outside, like you were saying, if you don't have food, if there's outside, I can't think of the right word right there, things affecting that inner world, then of course deal with those. But if you have comfort, if you have stability, if it's just your nervous system, like, in that state, try hot and cold. Meditation, absolutely. When I am feeling that stress in my life at all, I sing, and I sing obnoxiously, and it does reset your vagus nerve too. So there are physical things that you can do, but I would say absolutely start with what's going on in your reality around you. And if that is not in a comfort zone or in a place of being able to be safe, deal with that. But then, yeah, do some hot and cold in the shower or sing. Like, there's a bunch of fun things to reset the vagus nerve too. You guys, people can look it up on different sites too. Um, to
Also,
help get
learning
that
to
out.
say no. Like learning to say no to a bad mental diet, bad TV shows that put bad ideas in your head, or
Yes.
family members or friends that are constantly speaking negatively to you or about themselves, or complainers, people that act like victim mentality. We have to get in the habit of getting away from those kinds of information sources for our brain, because that also helps feed that survival mode into getting bigger and out of control.
Especially on social media, I feel like I'm a Gen Z, so I don't know. I think I'm probably the youngest one here, but I think a lot of my friends, I think a lot of my friends and a lot of my younger friends, like they're on social media so much that they don't even know where to start or where to go, because they see some information from this channeler and then they see this witch and this ritual, and it just gets so confusing, and they don't really know what's right, when in reality it's not really what's right, it's what's right for you in the moment right now. But with social media,
I have to just piggyback on that, because I was literally just thinking about the Frozen 2 movie where Anna sings the next right thing. Like, that's all it is. It's like baby steps. Like, focus on the next right thing for you. Not the next right thing like a million years in the future. Just the next right step in the next moment. That's all you can do.
That's
And I feel like that,
and I think too.
get out of that.
Oh, I was going to say, one of the things I was going to say too is, a lot of that work that we have to do, especially in survival mode, is kind of moving out of that fight or flight feeling. And I feel like once you're in a space of safety, one of the mantras that I feel helps a lot with that is just giving yourself space every day to say to oneself, it is safe to feel happy. It is safe to embody the feeling of happiness, because often trauma creates that anxiety or fear of happiness, because you're always waiting for that other shoe to drop. So I like to say, like, one of the ways to remove that and remember that you're in a safe space is say, there is no other shoe. That joy does not need to come with like that retribution or that volatility that we often experience in trauma environments. So being able to say to oneself and just occupy that space and saying, it is safe to feel happy. I energetically deserve to feel happy. That's a birthright. Coming into that space and regulating and finding that is the baseline can do a lot, because often that's the problem with the trauma, is it wants to create that volatility that says, you feel good, it's not going to last. You feel bad, it's not going to last. And all that becomes common is that feeling of saying, oh, I've got to move between the waveforms. So by saying, like, no, it's safe to stay here and I can remain here, that's how we can kind of move ourselves out of creating the trauma if we've experienced it.
I love that. One thing I'd say that, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, yeah, I just had to tell the Grace Strega, I forget your first name. I was literally listening. What was it?
Sin,
yes.
Yeah.
I was listening to "Safe in My Body" by Claire Michelle. Have you heard that song?
No.
Word for word, what you just said resonates. Like, it is like almost the same words she says in that song. So yeah, if you guys want to hear an amazing song that goes on exactly finding that safe in your body feeling, I was singing it and listening to it right before I joined the live. It's amazing. It's by Claire Michelle.
I'm definitely going to check it out. Thank you for recommending it.
Love that. One last thing I'd say, just to close up this conversation before we start to queue up towards 2025. In some cases, if you are in survival mode, if you're feeling like things are chaotic, or if you're feeling like there's some destabilization, there's a lesson instead. There's, in some cases, sometimes when we're constantly feeling like we're catching up, or we're constantly feeling like we're behind, we're somewhere out of flow. We're somewhere in a state of resistance. And that's a lesson from the universe in an acknowledgement of, where do you need to reprioritize your peace or your passion or energetic reciprocation, so you gain more replenishment, so you don't feel like you're constantly feeling like you're being held down or suppressed. And how can you ensure that you're living more with intention, outside, of course, of the framework of like trauma and trauma that needs to be healed. So we're going to queue up starting to talk about 2025. I want to get some insight from everybody here, and Tobias too, who's incredible in terms of providing some insight astrologically, and of course, any predictive messages he has as well. But let's see if anyone has some insight as to what we can anticipate, what we expect the year to hold. I know numerologically there's a lot of fanfare around it being a 9-year. So opening up to the floor now to those who want to give some insight for those who are listening regarding 2025.
I think the exciting one we got coming up is Saturn is transitioning into Aries, which is a great time to initiate. I think that's going to be May 24th. It's going to be a great time to initiate business, work, but that's going to require like really giving it 110% out of the rock style or something like that, I think that's going to be a big one. And Jupiter is moving into Cancer in June 9th, so that should also be an exciting time for luck and just overall fortune to really shift in our favor, especially in terms of like relationships and emotions and things like that, family affairs, etc. So I think we should have some nice shifts around the middle of the year, pretty much, with those transitions. There's some other ones, but
the primary. Tobias,
those are the primaries, I'd say.
One of the things that's funny is I never claim to be an astrologer, but I often get information via the tarot. Then I go cross reference into the astrology to say like what is it that I'm seeing here. And one of the big things that keeps coming up right now that I think that it's gonna take a little bit of time because we're in this Mars retrograde that happened like right in the middle of the Mercury retrograde. And I like to describe this as it was like the get down, stay down kind of energy. Like it's like everything's slow and then like right in the confidence to a certain extent. And so one of the things I think that are like one of the major themes that we're navigating as we move into 2025 is, and I've been reminding my collective of this, that there's confidence and there's courage. And the irony is that confidence cannot exist where courage is. When you're confident in something, you don't need courage, right? Because you have the confidence, you have the surety of something that's going to be the way it's going to be. I feel like a lot of this Mars retrograde energy is taking a lot of hits to people's confidence right now, but remembering that courage is what we have when we lack confidence. Courage is our intentionality that moves us into a space of bravery. So I keep saying to everyone right now, I want you to enter 2025 not confident. And if you're not feeling confident, I want you to be courageous. I want that intention to guide you and allow that intentionality to move you towards your destination.
Love that. Love that.
Which that's so cool because what I keep getting downloads about is about staying true. Number 9, solar plexus energy, and how this year is going to be a big opportunity for people to not only go after their dreams or their desires, but for those desires and dreams to align with your truth. And so to be confident, to be courageous, in order to align with that truth, in my opinion, you must be confident or courageous if you're not already in that zone. So that totally feeds into the downloads I've been getting for this year. I feel a lot of abundance and ways of bringing in abundance that are not only physical, like money. Yes, of course, we welcome money always, but abundance of joy and happiness and fulfillment in what we're actually going to be doing and what is going to be unfolding. And I have been getting these, and I haven't clarified it enough to get in which direction it's going to go, but certain structures not being honored anymore in society as they were before. Coming into this year, it's like some really big changes in not only like the internet or small social groups, but in societal large groups. Big shifts of, positive shift is what I keep getting. Is it going to be comfortable the entire time? I asked God the other day, I asked Source, I was channeling, and I said, is there anything that, because of things that have went on in the past, is there anything I should be aware of in the negative zone? Like, is there anything coming through? And of course, there will be things that are uncomfortable, but I just keep getting an immense amount of growth around the solar plexus and representing your truth. Representing and that truth aligning with large abundance, and not just abundance in money, but abundance of all things coming around. That's what I've been getting for this 2025.
Love.
Yeah, for me, it was authenticity. Like, I kept getting that message of like, be still. And I do feel like right now, as we gear up for 2025, it's one of those things where I feel like we're all kind of maybe in this period of like rest, trying to figure out exactly how we're going to approach it, right? And what we want out of it. But I just keep getting like authenticity, right? People, the right things, the right people will align with us if we act in our authentic state. I feel like we need to hold a lot of grace for ourselves, right? As we go into 2025 and play the game. God damn it, play the game is
Yeah.
is to me what it is. As we act in our authentic state, I feel like, what do you have to lose? If this is your goal to do something, like you said, it's a year of opportunity and like business and positive things happening for us. Well, there again, we all have a role to play in the elevation, right, of consciousness, and it starts with you. And I feel like what we need to forget is we're all big pieces of a puzzle. I get like you guys are looking at us on this screen, but the reality of it is we're all playing a piece in creating this awareness, this raising of the collective consciousness. So play your role and go for it, right? Go for it.
Amen.
And be authentic in doing that, because you are authentically you, and only you can contribute the way you can. There's no one better than you at doing it.
I love it.
I got lightning over here.
I would say one thing just to add on to that. I feel like that's really powerful. We're in an interesting place towards the end of the year where we are almost in the state of an incarnation, right? We've experienced the ego deaths and we've seen the evolution and the growth throughout the balance of 2024. We've experienced a lot of painful karmic lessons, but we've broken free from some old patterns. And now we're in this observation mode. We're sort of in the observation deck of where we've been, and we have the sight line to where we're going. So there's an opportunity here to just be patient and be grounded in this moment, be able to truly prepare for all it is to come, moving forward. And the key is being so patient to us, the extent where spirit, the universe, any non-denominational deity of choice doesn't see you sweat, because you know all that you desire is coming and you're willing to be grounded in this moment. And as some have described up until this time, knowing that where you are is exactly where you're meant to be. So this moment of healing and reflection and contemplation is just as important as that energy of receiving and allowing in that future state.
Yeah, especially with the Pluto coming out of Capricorn that it's been in for the last 15 years, that definitely marks a time of new changes. We got Saturn coming in Aries. We're going to have Venus in retrograde early in the year, which is going to be a time to really address unresolved issues that we have with our partnerships and things like that. So it's really a time to progress, evolve, and move forward in many different aspects in life. I think this year it's a great opportunity, great energies lining up to really push that momentum.
I feel like a lot of that energy that we've been seeing with Pluto moving out of Capricorn into like Aquarius is just like just say the awkward thing. You know what I mean? Like it's a lot of like, I feel like the Capricorn's like, let's just not look at that. And now it's like, the Aquarius is like, no, let's just talk about it. Like, let's just get it on the table. Let's unpack it. And I think that's, I feel like it's even now we're starting to feel a little bit of that discomforture, but like, that's how we do it. Like we release shame when we're able to navigate discomfort in a way that we can embrace it. Right. And I feel like there's a lot of that work that we're doing, and it's a very deep level of healing. But it's also like, there's a lot of compassion there because we give grace to ourselves in the process of doing that journey or going through that experience.
And on top of the authentic part, that is it Dion. On top of what you were saying, I feel like it's important to also be, not necessarily to force yourself to be vulnerable, but I keep hearing the words vulnerability and then power back to the people. So I feel like this idea of being authentically vulnerable allows people to see who you really are. And then with that energy, the power goes back to the people. So instead of looking at them as this savior or this person that is going to come, bless me, you become the person that's empowered because you are just showing them who you really are. And so with Pluto in Aquarius, I feel like that energy is always going to be geared towards humanity and geared towards individuals and groups. So I feel like community is going to be very big. And for the next 15 to 20 years, I feel like communities online, because Aquarius governs technology, as well as the nervous system and our tabs and our circulation, I think, and also blood. I feel like those areas of the physical body, but also those areas of community is going to be important. So there is going to be some shifts with technology. I don't know exactly what it will be yet, but I'm preparing for something like that too.
I think in 2025 and moving forward, all the people that are sharing this space and the screen right now as a collective, will really be able to make a much larger impact than we have ever made. I don't know about any of y'all, but before I joined TikTok, I was like, what? People are reading tarot online? Like, I didn't know that was a thing. I had never seen or witnessed so many different spiritual people and people that are trying to uplift each and every one of us, that come from different walks of life, that look different ways, that identify differently. And it's so beautiful having so many different people collectively working towards moving humanity towards a better place. And I think you're going to see, this might be good for a lot of us, celebrities and people worshiping and politician worshiping and all that stuff is going to fall away, because they realize that those things are empty. Those things, they're selling you something that leads them back to them making money and them being profitable and them increasing their abundance. And what we're doing is trying to feed back into you. We're trying to pour back into you so that you have more abundance, and you can find that, just as someone else said, find that for yourself. We are the guide, but we are not trying to take advantage in any way. We are, for the most part, we are trying to uplift the collective. So I feel like in the year to come, and even past that, this space of spiritualists and people who are embracing the collective is going to explode even bigger. And I'm super excited for it. Like, I'm here for it all.
Oh,
Yes.
I love this. So I want to turn it over to those who are here, because we have a good group in the room. So those who are here with us in the chat, we have lots of activity in the chat. Love this. So excited about it. So I want you all to really take a moment, tap into that inner guidance, as we say in the live, and come up with some questions that you'd like this group to be answered. And this is a very unique opportunity. I mean, like, again, these are my celebrities. So the fact that they're a question for you is something. Okay, so take advantage.
You are ours.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly.
That's it. You were my celebrity, because you're one of the few people I actually sit there and listen to your whole message to. I'm like, wow, she speaks so eloquently and beautifully. I love your readings.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Yes.
I swear I was not fishing for compliments, even though it's
I'm just saying.
Let's see if there's any questions coming in. So this is how often I watch all your lives. And Gray, or Sin, I watch your lives. And she'll go, okay, I'm going to go read back all the comments. So she reads every single comment. Like, she acknowledges every person that's in that live. A lot of cycles closing for new beginnings to enter. Yes, 2025. Encourage you to share this message. What is Astral? I'm not sure what this, there's a 4 in it. Astral T4A. I don't know if that's a typo. Okay, so as a Willow, we'll answer your question. As a Taurus, what should I focus on in 2025? Okay, so that's the first question.
Well, if they're a Taurus sun, I would say look at your birth chart and look for your rising sign, and then that will allow you to understand where your transits are going to be placed in the birth chart. So if you're a certain rising sign, if Taurus is in the 10th house, then whenever there's Taurus transits, you'll be more focused on career and reputation and all that, fun stuff. So being a Taurus sun, I would say just prepare for, I would say to actually work on yourself in terms of certain habits around food and how you spend money, because Taurus genuinely governs that area of life, and also your values around relationship and romantic energy. Taurus loves that stuff. So be aware of that, and then prepare for that Saturn and Aries transit, because like Cappie was saying, with Saturn and Aries going from May 24th to September 1st of 2025, it's going to go back when it goes retrograde all the way into Pisces, or Saturn and Pisces. Then in 2026 is when it goes direct into Saturn. So yeah, there's probably not as much information that I could give you, but look for your rising sign and then maybe do some research and go from there. And that will give you the best insight on what areas you should be looking for in your personal life with your chart.
Love that. We're going to do one question and one answer for each. So whoever feels called out of this group to answer the question, we'll have you the official question answer. So Hypno Jojo said, how can you, this is an amazing question. They're all amazing, but how can you best start cultivating your most authentic version of self?
I'd be happy to answer that question. One of my favorite practices that comes through a lot, both in the readings and also with my clients, is working on like focusing and manifesting on what your higher self is doing. You know, I just basically say, like, what do you, like, walk me through it. What are they doing right now? What is that person? And, you know, when we start having those self-limitations, you know, I think the question we have to ask ourselves is, what's stopping you from being that person right now? Like, imagine that you are perfect. Come into that space, because, you know, it's very, and I need to point out, like, the thing we've been talking a lot about with my collective is that idea of perfection. And perfection is an ideal. An ideal is something that cannot be achieved. So no matter, imagine that even when you are perfect, you will not feel perfect, because perfect is always that light that stands ahead of you. So if you're striving for it and reaching for it, you're already in a perfected state. So don't be mad at yourself for that feeling of wanting to do better. Embrace the fact that that is the quality and characteristic of perfection. And it's painful, right? Because it's constantly it's like Zeno's paradox. You can always refine on it. But remember, you're never going to hit that point and be like, I'm done, I'm good. You know, because like once you do, that is an illusion we create for ourselves. But the state of perfection is one that we always feel like we're reaching for it. We never arrive to it.
If I can add to that, I think that another thing that really helps with authenticity is getting away from people pleasing. Oftentimes, we'll accept a party invitation just so we don't let down that person. We'll go visit a family meeting, dealing with that one uncle or that one aunt that puts us down just because we don't want to upset the family. If you want to be authentic, don't be afraid to tell people no.
Oh my goodness. I'm so happy.
If it's not a hell yes, it's a hell no.
I always say that. Girl, that when I tell you that's something I always say. If it ain't a hell yes, it's a hell no for me. And something too about being in your authentic state is just realizing one of those things where what's for you is going to align with you, right? So even if you're pursuing something, we visualize where we want to be as we're manifesting things. We start working towards that, right? As long as forward movement, you're good. Like she said, you're on the path as long as you continue to take those steps. And when things don't work out our way, it's holding gratitude through the trials and tribulations, paying attention to what you learned or paying attention to the good that happened and focusing on that, right? That way we're not ruminating on negativity, but ruminating on the positive things that did happen to further call in more positive changes, right? For ourselves. And I think that is acting in your most authentic state. And honestly, I feel like it's a lesson I continue to learn. Sometimes I got to bop me upside the head, and that's okay because it's forward movement, right? And that's how I learned to stay true to me, is doing what feels good to me, not holding grace for others at the degradation of myself.
Exactly. This guy, Aaron, on YouTube always says, when you're people pleasing, you're abandoning yourself, and it's a form of manipulation. That's the way that you can kind of detriment yourself from abandoning yourself, you know, to please others. It keeps us away from that energy.
It also feeds into martyr complexes where people feel like, but I give so much and I do so much. And it's like, yeah, but you're getting something out of this too. You're getting the feeling that, oh, I'm just drained. Everybody's take from me. Like, you can easily shift that. And that's what I love about tarot. And one of the things I always tell my clients whenever I'm reading for them, I say, look at this. If I look at this spread, this is based on the current energy. This is just based on the current energy. This can change at any moment in time because you decide to make a different choice. That's all it takes. It just takes a different choice.
I love that. And I've been talking to my client, like a lot of the messages we've been receiving as well has been like loving the feeling of rejection, you know, like coming into that space. So often we're taught like, oh, if we feel rejection, that's a bad thing. I'm like, rejection's protection. You know, if there's something, if we're experiencing, like holding your standards creates a space where someone's rejecting you for it, like that is spiritual protection. Like there it is. So like readjusting our relationship to the feeling of rejection and not feeling like we have to drop our boundaries or become something that we're not, but honoring that space and saying, when I honor my space, I'm going to experience that rejection. That doesn't mean I'm not moving in the right direction. It means that I know the intentionality that I'm bringing forth to the direction.
Love it.
Love that. I love that. I think that was a really powerful discussion, a lot of profound insights. And I wanted to evolve to a question that is too far back in the chat, but we're going to piggyback on the question that was asked. So, and this question is nebulous. This is a difficult question to answer, but we have a powerhouse group here. So I'm confident that they have what it takes. So there was a question asked around truth and career, and this for me is anchored in this idea of like, what is my purpose? Which is a very complex question to be answered by anyone in a singular reading, a singular question, but this idea of how we find our purpose and then how that is expressed in career. So I want to turn it over to the group again for whoever feels called to provide insight.
I totally want to comment on this because this is the number one question that I get in like all my readings, every single coaching session, like that it starts with, what's my purpose? Rachel Rose, tell me my purpose. What's my purpose? And I love that. That shows the human soul and like how excited it is to learn and go and do this and progress. And it's so beautiful. But what I continuously get from Source is the first purpose is to be happy and to find your joy. Don't put yes, you can make money and it's always there for you. Money is not measured by the amount that you work. It is given to you from your divine right. But the first step is to find what makes you happy. And it's a shame that the societal structure is not anymore, but had trained the human soul and the human mind to think, you must go, you must fight for this, you have to like put all this energy into something because it's going to bring you money, and even if you don't like it, just keep pushing. And it's like, no, take a second, breathe. Usually what you are meant to do here is the most simplest thing, and it's usually, as Florence Scovel-Shinn says, I always quote her, I love her so much, it is usually the flash that comes upon the conscious mind from the subconscious mind that you think is so unattainable, that you don't think could ever happen. But that's what it is. That's your purpose. It's right there. And whether that purpose is like, you could be a spiritual teacher, a healer. You can take, I'll use an example. I love, one of the things that makes me so happy is that moment that I get to see someone get out of what was pressured upon them, but just be in themselves for a moment and sit there and say, wow, I see myself. I'm starting to know myself. I'm here. I'm present. There's this little switch that happens and this light that comes up. And that, oh my gosh, it can happen in a million different ways. It can be influenced by just me being around someone. It can be influenced by coaching. It can be influenced by a reading. It could be influenced by a handshake or just that ignition of light. So to find your purpose, first, I always say, just find your happiness. Find what makes your heart so happy that every time you think about it, you're like, oh my gosh, I love this so much. And then if you want to connect it to abundance, if you want to connect it to monetization or bringing in money, find something that plays in that a little bit. You know, find something that brings that energy of what you love into the physical. And it doesn't have to be like all or nothing, go, go, go. Just find something like we were talking about early, baby steps to that direction. Even if you're not getting millions of views on your videos, if you feel passionately about doing readings, start there for a second. And don't quit before the best part, you know? But first, find what your joy is.
I love that. I love that. One thing I just want to add on to that, I feel like this idea of finding a singular purpose, and this is going to be like a little bit of uncomfortable to hear for some, but like finding a singular purpose is actually ego driven. Maybe like I need to define purpose. I need to know who I am. I need to know what I'm doing. I need to know where I'm going. That's control based, right? But allowing an opportunity to flow in the energy, and like purpose is not singular. It evolves. Like some days your purpose is, yes, spending time with your kids and enjoying those opportunities of presence, and maybe the next day purpose is gardening, and I know that that's in some ways agnostic of what we see purpose to be, which is like this more esoteric purpose, which we can have that as well. We can have that like North Star, like North Node energy, but sometimes purpose feels very different day to day, and like not needing to really hold on to this idea of exactly what a purpose will be in order to be able to feel like you are meaningful. You are meaningful through existence.
Yeah, finding something you're good at and just getting better at it. You know, that always helps. And if it doesn't work, then just try something different. Winners aren't afraid to lose sometimes, and that's just the way it is, you know?
Yeah. There was another question here. Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, I think winners never quit and quitters never win.
Mm-hmm. That's on a poster somewhere.
I also think
I like shorts. juicy sayings.
I feel like another, and I think someone in the chat brought up a really good point, saying that the possibility of our purposes that change throughout time, and I think that that's the most. I mean, Mercy, you brought it up too. I think that's the beauty of an incredible journey, is that the journey changes as you proceed down it. So I mean, I am someone who is not young, but what we identify as what gives our life meaning is effectively our purpose. And so kind of honoring the fact that that can change. And I think that the best way to find the purpose is to understand yourself, because the more you can understand the value that you find is intrinsic in life, the more easily you can start to move in a way that feels like it's in accordance and alignment to that meaning.
And maybe my
Amen.
astrology boys can chime in on this. I think this is correct, but just speaking personally, I have a lot of fourth house placements. I have like 4 fourth house placements, so more than a stellium. And for me, my family and the legacy and the longevity and the growth and the evolution of my family is my purpose. Growing that is my purpose. And how I do that changes, as Mercy said, and as Strega said, like, it has changed throughout the years. In my 20s, I was a birth doula, and that was, I took care of other people's families while raising my own. And now that has shifted to where I'm home less, but I'm monetarily taking care of my family. And so, like, it all comes back to that for me. And that's going to be different for everybody. But it can manifest in a myriad of ways, and it's not one path, and it's not linear, and it's going to curve and wind, and and it's okay. Like, that's okay. We don't need one straight route. That would be boring.
I love that. There was another question that they said, this is an interesting question too. How do we keep dark energies away? What's the question?
Cross your damn legs. Whenever I'm at a family function or something, cross your damn legs, cross your fingers, put a cross right away. That's what I'll do in person. But yeah, there's a lot of different rituals and things you can do with magic from a distance, for sure. People will try to do things, but also don't think that you're not powerful enough to stop any type of dark energy that is coming your way. Dark energy is absolutely real, and it feels very horrible. But at the same time, you have both inside of you, and you have a lot of light. And when you show the darkness how lovely you are, when you smile at it, when you love it, to me, I always see the darkness as a being that forgot how to see the light. And so when I give it love, and I almost want to pour it with unconditional love, that's when I see the darkness go down. And actually, I had a whole moment with this one being where I saw it shoot up into a vortex of pure light when I gave it love. But when I was scared of it at first, it grew and it actually got larger. And so I think that instead of trying to like run away from dark things, it's actually very good to maybe protect yourself if you don't have the ability to at first. But if you do have the ability to, give it so much unconditional love, because at the end of the day, we have the darkness inside of us. There's been times where we've done things that are not so great to others, or people have done things to us. But we are everyone and we are everything. So inevitably, we have to understand that side too. So that's what I would say.
I think a big one too is the mindset, don't make promises to yourself that you can't keep. That's how we erode our own confidence, and that's how we attract negativity, because we start thinking that we're not worthy by the promises that we don't keep to ourselves. Another thing that I think also really helps keep dark energies away is exercise, dancing to good music, just going out for a walk. When we're stressed, when we're worried, we build up cortisol inside our bloodstream, and cortisol is a stress hormone, and exercise gets rid of it. The exercise gets your blood flowing, you get endorphins flowing, and it's a physical way to internally get rid of those heavy feelings. It can be pretty simple too. Anybody can, most people can do it unless you have some kind of health issue, of course,
Yeah. This one I did. Oh, I'm sorry, I thought you.
No, sorry, that was pretty much it.
Oh, I was gonna say that one of the big things for me when you talk about keeping negative energy away, and I agree with both of you. So piggyback on both of what you said, because mindset is everything. It's how we look at things. It's how we perceive things that are being said or done to us and around us, right? I think for me, it's not carrying other people's baggage, right? Because if I know I walk in the room and I have the best intentions and I'm being consistent about my positivity, and you got a problem with me, oh no, baby, I'm not keeping that. That's on you. You got something you need to work on. And when and that's okay, right? So when it comes to even how you mentioned that shadows, right? Like showing it love, I feel like it's the same way, you guys, when we talk about ourselves personally, when it comes to shadow work, I like it better to call it shadow love, because what we're trying to do is bring those parts of ourselves that we may be holding, guilt or shame about, to show those parts of us love. So it's shadow love. Don't look at it like work, it's shadow love, showing ourselves love, showing other people love, and just knowing sometimes that light in you will trigger darkness in other people. But don't carry that baggage. Don't carry that baggage. Just be like, oh, baby, I get it. You need to work on that, and that's okay. And you take that positivity and you keep it moving. That's how I look at it.
I forget that one singer's name, but she always would say, other people's opinion of me is none of my business.
Yes, yes.
Myself.
And I think that in as Tobias was saying about, and I always want to walk like a careful line when we talk about like when there's something dark, just give it light, because there's a lot of things that like, feed off of that sense of compassion. But the way I like to articulate it that I think is the best is having compassion for other people's darkness does not require you to accept it, right? Mm-hmm. I can recognize that something that's dark that's coming towards me is coming from fear. That when the minute everything changes, when you look at anything coming towards you that's anger as fear, because you can see the pain behind it that is creating that feeling. And so when you navigate that, remembering that that's fear, you can have compassion for it. You can give it what you feel is right to give it, but it also gives you the consent to step away from something if you feel like it's not healthy, right? Because it's more of that sense of navigating with a sense of compassion that says, I protect my energy and I honor yours. And that ability of doing so allows that space of recognizing that often when someone comes towards us in a negative way, that's a projection of what they're feeling. Doesn't mean I have to keep giving it love if they're coming towards me in a way that's completely unacceptable, but I can step back and say, I hope you find what you need. And being able to kind of navigate that space, that is how we retain our power. Because I like to point out, like, this is why I don't believe in matching energy. Because if someone's matching you, if someone's trying to match you in a negative place, don't indulge them by meeting them there. Hold that higher standard. Stay towards your intention. And if you don't like the energy in the room, be the force of change of energy in the room. And I feel like that's what we talk about in relationality to spirituality and grounding. It's just really identifying the presence of one's own energetic field and where you'll allow it to go, right?
I think that taps back into the idea of authenticity, right? If you're in that space of authenticity, you can identify where someone is and where you are. And I would say one more insight that I think is supportive, because I'm very mindful to not utilize anything that feels like dogmatic or advising someone of like the demonic outside forces that we all have to be living in fear of. I think if we are in alignment and we are mindful energetically of our own energetic hygiene, okay, that energy field is less permeable. But when we are not mindful, when we are not in a space in which we are grounded and we are replenishing our energy, there is a weakness that's created, right? But that weakness and vulnerability is something that we have the impact to work with ourselves. So just being mindful as well as to not just living in fear of like, okay, now I'm just falling victim to anything outside of me. No, just ground yourself and do that little check-in, that self-audit as to where you are in terms of your energetic hygiene, to be able to provide an opportunity to those outside of you to stay outside of you and to not impact you completely. Mm-hmm.
So. It's like Abraham Hicks talks about staying on your high flying disc, right? It's like you got to stay where you are. You can't go down and sink down to other people's levels, even if it means leaving them there. Even if you want to try to bring them up, you can't bring them up. They have to elevate themselves. So you have to stay on that high flying disc no matter what. You got to stay in that energy, and people will either rise to meet you or they will not.
Mm-hmm. There's another question here. How do you get past, this is a really good question from Kimberly, Miss Kimberly. How do you get past the fear of rejection and abandonment?
I mean, I'm going to return back to what I said. I think that when I like to put it this way, and I've been talking a lot about this as well. When we're in a pathwork of purpose, we don't take rejection personally because we recognize that it's not personal. Why would you ever do something like to cause harm in another, right? So like again, like in a way, like embracing, like almost coming to that space of embracing the feeling of rejection, because it doesn't mean that you go around trying to be like, like have people not like you to a certain extent, but identifying and saying that when I'm in accordance to my higher self, it's going to feel a lot like I'm experiencing rejecting around me because I'm not navigating towards what others desire for me, right? And so, when you're in that space, it's giving you, it almost like you look at rejection not so much as the feeling but as calibration, and saying like, is that rejection coming because I'm doing something that's out of alignment with myself? Am I rejecting myself in the process, or am I experiencing something with someone else where my standards are requiring them to abandon me? Because what you recognize with a rejection is actually feeling someone that's willing to abandon you because they're not ready to meet your standards. So once you recognize that, it changes your relationship to it, because why would you chase after something or someone that's abandoning you because they can't match your standards? I feel like that the more that you're able to ground in your own intentions and focus, it reorients you in relationality to, it's not that it stops hurting, it just, you don't take it so personally, or it doesn't impact you as much, because you recognize that that's kind of just the journey that you experience in moving on that path work.
I love that. I always tell people not to internalize that. Like oftentimes people want to know, like they feel like someone else is being chosen over them. The reality of it is, like you said, if you're acting your authentic self to what feels good to you, right? That's a natural filter. So that person will either come within it or not. And if they don't, thank you, right? Thank you. Save me some heartache, save me some stress. It's a natural filter. You're not internalizing that as something is wrong with you. It's about them recognizing that, like you said, they can't meet that, and that's okay. And it's also, it'll sometimes, especially when it comes to love, right? So that'll allow us to be with ourselves for longer periods of time. But that is not a bad thing, because at that point, then it becomes quality over quantity. And then the people that are coming into your life are better suited for you, because you've got a natural filter of boundaries that you've placed for yourself. Right? I hope that made sense.
Mm-hmm. Totally.
A lot of times the fear also stems from childhood experiences and things that we see our parents go through. I've came to realize a little bit about attachment styles, anxious attachment, avoidant attachments, and fearful avoidance. And when you have a mismatch in those attachment styles, you tend to manifest a lot of resistance and difficulty in relationships. And a lot of inner child work needs to be done to kind of calm those fears, because a lot of the times the fears are unfounded when the person is just focusing on themselves, and you think, oh, well, they're not answering, so they must be banging XYZ, but really they're at work, like busting their ass trying to make money. So if you've had parents that did stuff like that, or experiences with young love or etc., where it creates those traumatic experiences, you're gonna be more comfortable with those situations because you're familiar with those situations. So that's how we tend to attract those kind of situations, when we don't do the work to realize, hey, wait a minute, am I repeating this pattern again and again and again? Something I kind of came to realize this past year over my paranoia in relationships, It's kind of trippy.
I think you have to also choose yourself. Like if you're talking about abandonment and rejection,
Mm-hmm.
are you abandoning yourself? Have you rejected yourself? Have you given up on yourself? It comes back to you, because it sounds cliche, but you are enough. Like you don't need anyone else to validate who you are, who you want to be. So if you can bring it back to yourself and not look for that validation outside of yourself, see yourself as I'm good enough just where I am. I know I'm making progress. I know I'm doing the best I can, giving myself grace. So it really does. It comes back to you, because I can't be rejected by someone. I could be rejected by someone, but I don't reject myself. So I still have myself. I'm never alone. You're never alone. So even when others, choose different paths, you're never alone because you always have yourself. So I think just being able to appreciate the solitude of just loving on yourself and not looking for it always in other places, it has changed my life profoundly as a former people pleaser, as a former bad boy lover. My Lord, you know what I'm saying, like I had to love myself. I had to be like, oh, wait a minute, I'm enough. I don't need this extra attention, even though it feels good in the moment. I can create that for myself. I don't need to find someone else to do that. I don't need to fix someone else to do that. I don't need to suffer. You don't need to suffer.
Yeah, the law of
I agree with that.
learning the difference between that and giving up is key. Because law of detachment is not exactly giving up. It's just, I'm good either way.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
I was gonna say about this topic is get juicy with yourself and like love yourself. Like get in that that was my mom's favorite phrase ever is juicy. It's like this energy of like appreciation and love, and like you must be over the moon about yourself, and find that grounded energy. So I agree with what you were saying, Emperor Queen Tarot. So much, because you have to be in that juicy energy that if somebody about yourself, if somebody leaves, you still have the most amazing person on this whole planet. It's your human, it's your soul, it's your self-expression. And does that, like Sin was saying, does that make the pain of loss go away or the pain of rejection go away? No, you process through it, but knowing that you have this amazing self to come home to always. It's so important. So fall in love with yourself.
Flowers. She's the lyrics. Exactly. You can buy yourself flowers.
One thing I just want to say, just to shift the perspective and the paradigm a little bit in terms of how we view the idea of rejection. I know you've all probably heard God's protection, it's redirection, all of the bumper sticker slogans, which are very accurate. So still something, if you resonate with it, there's something to take from it. But the other aspect of it is often what we're not feeling the sting of. It's not the rejection itself. It's the perception of someone taking away our power, right? It's a perception of someone taking away choice from us, taking something from us that we thought was ours. It's this feeling of like disempowerment. Right? So in essence, if we are feeling the sting of this perceived disempowerment, we can then shift out of that place, not through creating a rectifying of that misdoing through that person or an individual, but through that misdoing towards yourself of giving up that power initially. Right? So shifting into an empowered state out of a disempowered state can actually, in many cases, cure that pain or that wound that we're experiencing. And often when we seek a restitution through that external energy, it's like there's a shallow level of fulfillment that comes from it. That the closure never feels like it truly satiates us, and there's a reason for that. It's because we need to find that within.
Gratitude helps. Yeah. That was all I was going to say, Rachel. Sorry.
No, you're okay. I was agreeing.
Yeah, gratitude definitely helps with getting out of that negative feeling of not feeling good enough for a situation or something. Instead, you shift to the things that you do have and being grateful for what you do have. I think that can really help a lot.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I also think like getting back to like what we were talking about with like the myopia of like wanting something the way you want it, right? The ego is like it needs to come through this person. Like I need something that's coming and it's coming through here and it's not here. And then that person goes away and you go, it's not coming towards you. But when it's like that same conversation where we're having with surrender, which is you just say to the universe, I'm like, it's still coming. It's just not coming in the way that I expected it. I'm grieving, I'm mourning the loss that what I expected through that was not what I expected. But it doesn't mean that perfect relationship, that perfect position, that perfect opportunity, it could be around the corner. But if I'm sitting here and I'm bawling my eyes out on the floor because it didn't come through the one door that I expected, all I'm doing is I'm blocking my vision from all the other possibilities. The universe could be behind me in 15 different ways going, turn around. It's like the surprise party. It's like, we've got all the presents, we just need you to turn around. But if you're so focused on it just coming through that one way, it's like that's how we close our eyes sometimes. So, and I know how hard it is when we're going through that, but I think that even that moment, it's like, it's not that it's not coming, it's just not the way I expected it to. Like giving yourself that grace, saying, I have to be patient. This is a collaborative effort. I need to surrender, and that's, again, it's not the surrendering of giving up. It's surrendering of saying, I let go of the expectation of how it will arrive to me.
And the peas, girl. I love you. I need to follow you.
I do too. I'm about to follow you right now.
I need to follow you after this. But
speak in my ears all the time.
It's the peace, right? It's like, here we go again. Like we mentioned earlier, when we're holding on to something, if it doesn't feel aligned with us and this thing is constantly triggering us or not bringing us peace, then baby, that's not how spirit is going to give you the abundance. That's not where it's coming from. So it's when we talk about surrendering, it's learning to let go earlier on. We can save ourselves so much pain and heartache, right? But I want Johnny to be mine so bad, and Johnny better pick me. The reality of it is, we say, you know what, Johnny Two Shoes, you're not aligning with my soul, and we let you go. I'm saving myself how many times of being cheated on, how many times of finding out somebody lying to me, because I let them go with love and light when I realized that they are not aligned with me. I surrendered. Okay, Spirit, I hear you. And then I'm going to turn around and get them gifts like Strega said. That's over here, right?
There's one more question here I wanted to turn over to the group. So Sheila said, how do you find balance in detaching while manifesting and operating in the law of assumption? That is a really good question.
That's a tough one.
Say it. Will we repeat it one more time?
Yeah.
So how do you find balance when you're manifesting while practicing the law of assumption? Like, how do you stay grounded where you are before your manifestation come in, while you're also practicing the law of assumption that you already have said thing?
Well, you give gratitude for what you have, and then you allow. Like, it's like a process, like ask for what you want, ask for anything like somebody said earlier, whatever has been put in your brain, on your heart, is what you should be asking for. So ask for it, and then allow for it to show up however it is, however it wants to, because we are not in charge of the how. We're in charge of the what. Like, you can ask what you want. I want this. I want that. The how, not up to you. And really letting go of the how, like Strega was saying, like you can have, it could come so many different ways. So not focusing and being so hell bent on it being a certain way. That is the biggest pitfall I see with everybody. It's like, I want this thing. Okay, cool. But I have to do it in this way. And it's like, well, okay, well that really limits all the ways that it could possibly come to you. So just put out the what you want, and then allow and accept and be thankful for all the opportunities, but don't be so fixed on how it's going to happen. The how is up to the universe. I leave that up to God and my spirit guides and my team. Like, I don't know how this is going to happen, but I trust. That's the other part. I trust. I truly have fearless faith and trust that whatever I'm asking for, it will be delivered to me. I just don't know when or how. And that's hard because we're controlling humans.
I would say a big way of doing it is like, once you have your manifestation thought, intent, and wish fulfilled mindset set, the best way to practice the law of detachment, which is what helps maintain the eyes open to the other doors, is to put time and effort into yourself. I have a holy trinity I like to mention in this. It's exercise, studying, and money. Put more time into exercising, studying, learning something new, reading a book, bettering yourself. Because then you are giving yourself that which you're expecting. You're elevating your frequency to get to the thing that you're wanting. And like that, you're not sitting there ruminating, thinking, wondering when. And I don't mean just like watching TV or playing video games or something like that, which is, something I'm guilty of. But it's like doing something productive that gives you serotonin and dopamine for completing a project or a goal that you have for yourself. And then you can keep your mind occupied off of that, not yet having in 3D what you're manifesting in the 4D, 5D.
I love that. That's and Sink can speak to this in more depth. She could probably do a 4-hour live on just a singular tarot card, in all honesty. But if you look at like the magician, right, there's it's both the act of knowing and doing, right, in conjunction, like the vertical and the horizontal plane. It's not just I'm setting in an intention and I'm allowing it to come forth. It's I'm setting an intention that I'm going to start to move towards active work or to a state of diligence. I think Mercyme spoke to this in the live when we did the co-live as well. It's like putting that into motion, right? Starting to putting that into motion. So I think that's really important to know that we cannot only live in the spiritual plane. We cannot only live in this esoteric world. We have to also live in this reality. And my Venus in Capricorn is happy to be there, but we have to be able to combine and understand, and then also master that intermediate, like at the equator of those two worlds is really where the magic happens, truthfully. One more question too from this this was a really good question. I feel like every single person in this room will probably resonate with this and identify with this. But someone asked how to let someone go. They've been trying to let someone go for 2 years. They haven't been able to do it. So I'm going to turn it over to the experts. Any advice or insight as to how to let someone go?
Oi, that's such a fun thing to do. Just kidding. Letting someone go, that's a huge lesson that I learned this year. And I feel like the best things, the route of action is first, and this will resonate with those that I've found that some people can't always feel what they're feeling or have that emotional intelligence to understand. But for those that you can feel it inside of you when it's time to let that person go. And is that going to be the easiest process? Not necessarily, but time is our friend. And even if it sometimes feels like it isn't, it is. And time heals everything. And just making that decision, first prioritizing yourself and noticing the shifts in your body, the things that make that person out of, or not even make, but the things you realize in that relationship that are out of alignment with yourself. Not necessarily unhealthily focusing on it, but making that a priority in the mind of acknowledging all the beauty and the goodness, but also prioritizing you and what is the most important to you. And if that person comes out of alignment with it, making the choice to let them go, it can be difficult, but the first step, I believe, is making that choice and processing through the emotions that you have with that, but remembering what it is your purpose is, or what it is they fall out of alignment with. It's helped me in that process.
I can't help but think of that meme going on TikTok. We hide our feelings in our muscles. Working on yourself and changing your frequency and elevating yourself will make you look back and say, why did I even have interest in that person to begin with?
I also feel that there's something really important about one of the things I often repeat frequently, or the message that comes through for those that are trying to heal from experiences with someone that they couldn't be in alignment with, is I prioritize the energy that wants to be on the path with me. Right. And I'll tell you every moment when that happens, it's because there was a tug of war. Two people wanted different things. One's pulling this way, one's pulling that way. And so when you recognize that energetic pull is the feeling of the force of people pulling in different directions, then you recognize, much like we talked about, that act of surrender is an act of love. Because you can say, I love that. Like, that's what we meant. I know it's cliche. When you love something, you set it free. That doesn't mean when you love it, you push it away from you. When you love something, you walk with them. You don't drag them. When you go for a walk with someone, you're walking down the road with them. You're not pulling each other down that pathwork. So I think when you come into that space of saying, I cared about that person, but we wanted different things. I love that person for a time, but now we're no longer in the same place. We can start to heal because it doesn't require us to let go of them. It doesn't require us to hate them. It doesn't require us to forget about them. It allows us to soften our relationship with the connection in such a way that we can say, I hope they're well. I hope they found the peace that they sought. I hope I find the peace that I seek. And I think that ability, it's the hardest thing. I know it sounds easy, but the more grace that we find on our path, the easier it is to give that grace to those around us that we experience those pains and those hurts through.
I love that. You know what I learned? So I had like a really bad breakup, and you know what I took from that relationship? It was this thing where I had to look at what was so hard for me to let go of. What was that person providing me that was so difficult for me to really release or let go of? What was it that I felt I didn't bring to my own table that I was looking for in that person? And then I realized that's more of what I need to give myself, right? So when we talk about self-love, it's about learning to fulfill ourselves and sit with our whole self. That way, it's easier to let go when someone isn't aligned with us and not feel like we're being something is being taken away from us, or we're now in debt to something because we're able to provide it for ourselves. So figure out what that thing is that you're holding on to, and then provide more of it to yourself. If it's nurturing, do that. If it's protection, stand on your boundaries. You can find a way to provide it to yourself.
Amen.
Yeah, love that.
Yeah.
For me, that's very in alignment with Ram Dass, this hold on tightly, let go lightly, right? We hold on for our capacity to love is a beautiful gift. That exchange of energy provides us so much fuel for our path. But for a reason or for a season, we connect with that individual and then we walk in separate directions, or we walk towards our home and they walk towards their home. And I think some of the reason why we have a difficult time detaching from individuals is because the individuals, we're not only just grieving the loss of that individual, we're grieving the loss of something in ourselves. We're grieving the loss of that like idealistic, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, drunk and in love fool that was like, oh, I love this person. I'm so happy. I'm living my best life. This is just magic. You're in that early stage, that honeymoon stage. And then everything goes off the rails, as it does, as there's a tendency to do. But we're really wanting to get back to that feeling. So as Dion said, like find that feeling in somewhere else where you can cultivate that more consistently, more sustainably, as opposed to seeking that version. And yes, go through the process and stages of grief. Because sometimes we're also holding on to that person because we're avoiding going through those stages of grief because it's not fun. You're not comfortable.
Yeah. There's a word for that, the Pisces conversion. When two energies come together, a third is created. And that, I feel like that you were talking about, you're not just mourning that relationship or that, it's that energy that you create with that person. And it's an entirely different reality that you guys create together, because you're not just yourself and that person. No, you're together. You're making that Pisces conversion, that third energy that no other person, which also kind of fills my heart in a lovely way. No other person can replicate that energy with that person. So that love is so unique and so beautiful and can never be fingerprinted or copied, or it's specifically yours. And yes, grieving that is important, but also having that love and appreciation that even existed, that beautiful reality with that person.
And I think talking about just relationships in general, you were talking about the whole Pisces idea there. That's also like the Trinity in your relationship. And I think when you are in a partnership where you're not codependent of each other, but you work with each other, just like how if I were to explain my idea of spirituality, I would tell someone that for me, it's evolution constantly towards some form of unconditional love for whatever that is right now. And so in a relationship, it's almost like if both of you can evolve together and have that, you don't have to have a spiritual, backbone, and you guys don't have to have the exact same things that you guys like about each other. But I don't think you should rely on each other for certain things. I think you should have your own power, your own love. And then in that you evolve, and then you can even do beautiful things where you guys start to get very vulnerable and talk about the Trinity and talk about what are we actually creating here? Like what projects do you have? It doesn't have to be business projects. It could be just project like creative things. Maybe we love to paint together. Maybe we love to dance together. But I think you need to find that, or else a relationship becomes very stagnant. And just like how we were talking about purpose and life purpose evolves over time. And so when you look at a lot of relationships, I feel like a lot of them just get stuck once they have kids and a family and they follow like the whole matrix idea. It just becomes very stale. And so I think we need to have that open mindset of evolution, especially when you go into that new relationship, at least. Maybe not for the one that you're, leaving, but for the new one, have that idea that we need to evolve together.
I love that. So we are running a time, and I'm keeping all of these amazing people far beyond their schedules will likely allow. They probably have many pressing engagements that we're keeping them from at this time. But what I want to do is I just want to turn over to everybody who joined us today for this spiritual communion. And I want them all to just provide a little bit of sentiment around sort of closing us out today, anything else that they'd like to share. And as well, of course, where you can find them, what platforms they're on, what they're working on, all of the exciting things that you want to be a part of by following them and engaging with them. So, Let's do clockwise. We'll start with Rachel. So.
Yay. Okay, so first I just want to say thank you, Mercy, so much for this space and creating this space for us. I've never ever done a panel like this or done like the battles or anything like that on TikTok, so this is totally new to me. And I have to just say the way that we all communicated as a community today was so cup filling, to say the least, in my heart and in my soul. This is so cool, to not only have like community and understanding for topics that you know, walking around I might not be able to talk to everybody in my local community about it, but to have this is so beautiful. But to also hear the space that, like, even letting each one of us talk and waiting for our turn, and the way that everybody flowed together today, it was just, oh, it's so good. My little kid heart is just so happy right now. So thank you so much, Mercy. I'm mainly on TikTok. I'm starting to branch out to YouTube. I have it listed in my little link tree, and you can find me on Etsy. All of that information is on my TikTok account. And yeah, I'm just super grateful for today. And I hope that we can do this again. And somebody did ask in the comments if this was being recorded, because I would love to have a copy because it was just so cool. I'd love to share it.
You should put it on YouTube.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
YouTube for sure. Yeah.
Or here, I guess, if that allows it. I think YouTube, there's no limit, though. That's why I mentioned it.
Yeah.
I feel like the last thing that Source put on my heart to share with everybody here, I love you, Esteban, I see you. Don't put so much pressure on yourself for evolving or making the right decision. Remember to enjoy your human experience while you have it. Treat it like it might be your last one around. Maybe you're going to come back a couple more times, but just find joy in the little things, and don't worry so much about being perfect or having this progressive mentality. Take your action steps. Do what is on your heart to do for yourself. Don't let your life pass you by, but just find peace and happiness in what you're doing. Find those little things each day, and don't put so much pressure on yourself. And remember the power of your word. Speak your truth always. That's all. That's all I have.
Whoa.
Whoa.
That's cool.
Wow.
What is that?
That I've never seen. That was amazing.
I've never seen that either. That was dope.
They're leveling up. Wow. Yeah, awesome. Mercy, thank you so much. I appreciate you for allowing us to have this space, and I'm really happy that I got to meet everyone here. Everyone here has very cool, unique, different, beautiful, and powerful energy, so it's great. And yeah, for me, you guys can always find me on TikTok. I'm starting to post more on Instagram. So a little bit about me, I actually was working. So I did TikTok previously 2 years ago, and then I took a break. Spirit told me that you need to take a break from posting, you need to work on yourself. And so I went into the workforce and I fully stopped posting. So it's probably been about 2 months now that I've been posting again, that I've been back online. And with that, my partner and I have started our podcast. We've been recording episodes. And so she's been editing them and doing all that fun stuff. So as long as you guys, stay in tune and follow me on my TikTok or my Instagram, you'll see the updates. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I haven't started a YouTube channel just yet, but I plan to post the podcast on there, and it's going to be called The Experience, where we get to talk about our spiritual journey and what we've been through, and our experience being in the Gen Z world, in the community, and the things that we see going on, and also just being, kind of old souls, and also caring about these ancient traditions and wanting to give love and value to certain and all plant medicines. And so that's kind of where I'm at right now. I love to learn so much, and I love to learn from all of you guys. So I appreciate you, and I thank you so much. And I hope to do this again, because this was super, super fun.
Yes.
Me too.
Yeah. Of course, I have to thank our illustrious hosts, Miss Mercy. We have been in connection for a while now, and I so much appreciate you in my life, and I so much appreciate what you bring to this whole platform and allowing us all to have our time to speak here. It's been so beautiful, so amazing. I'm here on TikTok as well. I'm on Instagram, same name. Don't be scammed. Anybody listening out there, for all of us, don't be.
Yeah, we don't message people.
Man. Like, do
Yes,
your due diligence,
none of us
okay?
message people.
Do your due diligence. I will not reach out to you. So you can find me on Instagram. You can find me on TikTok.
Scream it louder.
You can also check the link in my bio for my website, which I have my own tarot deck that I made 2 years ago that is there for sale. It's actually on sale right now. So you can get that. And if you're ever in Vegas, Miss Sin City, hey girl, we're neighbors. If you're ever in Vegas and you want to just find an empowering show where women and men alike feel empowered, loved, respected, come see me at Magic Mike Live, because I'm the host at Magic Mike Live. I'm coming. So that's my other gig. So we're about empowerment all over the place. Sexual, spiritual, whatever it is.
Whoa. Oh my goodness. Beautiful.
Oh my God, that was great.
Oh.
That was like Free Williams.
Whoa!
Thank you. And that's it. That's all I got.
Maybe send over to you.
Oh, absolutely. And I just want to thank, Mercy, thank you so much for putting this together. I really feel like this is the first time I've seen like a group of people on TikTok that like aren't dropping F-bombs on each other and just like tearing each other down. It's just really beautiful to be able to share the space with those that, and just being able to talk about a lot of the messages that we've been receiving. One of the things I think is really important as we move into 2025 is that sense of community. And I just want to reaffirm that, like, every time I tap into spirit, spirit always wants us to come together. And anything that harms us is something that tries to separate us or pull us apart. And so I just kind of want to leave the group with that as we continue forward into our evening. In relation to me, you can find me pretty much daily here on TikTok. I do a daily collective energy update that's usually around 8 a.m. PST, 11 a.m. Eastern. For those that might not be able to catch that live, I post that. It also streams now live on Instagram as well, and also as well as the place that we keep the videos. I also post it afterwards as a podcast over on Spotify and on my Substack. You can find me on Spotify at Tarot Church, and my Substack is where I actually teach where you can find our Tarot Church classes. We do monthly live classes that are an exploration and deep dive into each individual tarot card. We are currently on the Hermit card. That class will be held on Wednesday, January 15th at 6 p.m. PST, 9 p.m. Eastern. If you'd like to become a part of that class program, all you need to do is become a paid subscriber to my Substack. That grants you access into our live classes as well as the full library of previous classes. So now's a great time to join because you've got over 9 hours worth of material there to catch up on. And also with that, again, I just want to thank you guys so much for being here and letting me be a part of this. Thank you for helping me and allowing me to share the space with you.
So beautiful.
Okay,
Awesome. Well, of course, thank you, Mercy, right? Thank all of you as well. This was like such a beautiful experience for myself. I learned a lot. I think all of you are so very knowledgeable. If there's one thing I want to leave you all with, and mind you, these are things like your girl is constantly working on herself, right? It's just that knowing that, like, who better than you? Like, no one's better than you. No two people are the same. And because of that, I want you to know that what you contribute is just so beautiful and powerful. So whatever it is that you're thinking you want to do, who better than you, baby? Go get it. Go do it and have fun doing it. Enjoy the process, right? Outside of that, your girl is live every day except for Saturday because I like to be outside, right? So every day, 12 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. I hope you join the live. Come in, say hello. I do have my YouTube set up. I plan to mid-January start posting mediumship sessions, right? Because I'm delusional and I want to be on Netflix, damn it, and I'm gonna make my own show.
Yes.
I'm gonna practice what I preach, right? But I love you guys. Thank you so much for having me here.
I could literally listen to Dion read the phone book. I swear to God,
Yes.
listen to her. I'm like, I'm motivated. Yeah. Look, okay. Ryan.
Mercy, thank you so much for having this. I hope you're having another one.
Oh my geez.
That's
super
our
neat.
Lion King.
I most of my
That gave
content.
me chills.
Lord, these gifts.
My goodness.
Those are some pretty cool gifts that they've been dropping.
Yes.
Most of my content is in Spanish, so I'm not sure if most people, you're all always welcome to come and join and listen, but most of the time I do read like my science and stuff in Spanish. I post that stuff on YouTube. I think the biggest contribution I have here is I do have an English book.
Oh,
And it's pretty detailed.
hey.
It's got all the tarot cards, all the astrology stuff. So, if people want to really learn what everything means, what the position means, I have this thing with a lot of detail. Plus, look at this artwork. It's pretty cool.
Beautiful.
I made it all myself, so I'm kind of proud of it, But yeah, I appreciate y'all having me on here, and I look forward to seeing this happen again. Mercy, I would love to do this again sometime. This was an amazing experience. And remember, knowledge is power. The mind is very powerful. That's my one message to everybody.
I love this. Jack Swift said, amazing, because I've been looking for more Spanish-speaking creators to improve. That was my goal, too, but it hasn't worked.
That's me too. I was just gonna say that. I'm learning Spanish in number 9 this 2025. I am learning Spanish. I'm going
Número
to.
9.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
See.
I just want my abuelita to not hang up on me. The goal is like to have her not fully hang up out of embarrassment. Oh my goodness.
I love these.
Mother of Dragons. Thank you so much.
Wow.
I hope you're
That's lit.
spreading the love and sending to other people too.
Amazing.
Or King Terry, you're going to get a bunch of gifts later, just letting you know in advance. Okay, Stevie, what do you got for us?
Hey, well, Mother Mercy, I love you. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. I know I didn't speak at all, but it is what it is. I just don't like to be too formal sometimes, so hey, I just sat back. But I would say for the year 2025, put your foot on these people's necks, you know what I mean? Stand on business. Stand on business pretty much on 2025 and be you unapologetically. And I definitely would say speaking to the universe out loud and verbally would definitely help, because it has helped me a lot with manifesting a lot of things in my life when it comes to several different avenues. So that's one of my encouragements or advice, I guess you could say, speaking to the universe. But of course, I'm someone that is very eclectic when it comes to my work. So whatever works for you, works for you. You feel me? So it is what it is. Whatever works for you, that's cool. Hey. So I would never force anyone to do anything that doesn't fit for them, pretty much. Besides that, social media wise, you can find me on here being a fool, being, unhinged, like Mercy likes to say. If not, I do have all my other stuff linked into my bio, which is Instagram and YouTube, which still trying to figure out my YouTube situation because I have 2 accounts right now, and I'm kind of like trying to figure that out. But besides that, I do have my Instagram in my bio as well.
Amazing.
Dan, I love you with your fine ass.
I love you.
Oh, my interrupting something?
And I have to say, even if you didn't speak that much or fill with noise, your energy definitely filled this digital room. I could feel your energy the whole time. And I look forward to hearing your perspective too. But go hard, go hard.
Literal Phoenix.
That's
Right?
so
I've
cool.
never seen any of these gifts. I'm
Yes.
I'm only good on this lab.
But your energy was immaculate, and it definitely added, in my opinion. It definitely added.
We'll make up for it next time. You could be the only one that talks next time. We'll all just...
I mean, I guess.
Yeah, mute all of them.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just also very respectful. I don't want to talk over anyone, so hey, that's the other thing too.
That was amazing. That was amazing. Thank you so much to everybody who was here today. And I won't plug myself just because I don't want to take up more than everyone's time, but you know where to find me. I'm usually here, but sometimes I'm other places. So
Girl.
you can find me here. You can find me other places. We will be doing more of these events because this definitely filled up my cup. Rach, I echo that sentiment that this was replenishing for me and invigorating and exciting. And this is something that I definitely want to foster more often and to have more voices even be heard. Frankly, if I could have all of us in this room and it wouldn't just be like a cacophony of screams, I would do it. I would have us all be in one big room together. But we got the Hollywood Squares. We got everyone here with us. So it's a beautiful experience. So thank you, everyone. Bro, thank you. I've literally never seen anything before. So we are so honored. We're so
Now, those
grateful.
are the gifts, man.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like I'm on one of those huge lives now, with like the thousands of people in the room with all of these. That was so beautiful. And thank you to everyone who joined us. To Kathy, to Trish, Willow, Amani, Cindy, Sarah, Bridget, Estina, Kimberly, everybody who participated. Thank you for being here with us. We're so appreciative of you all. Hope you all have a beautiful Sunday, and we will keep everyone posted for the next event. Bye.
Bye for now.
Bye.
Have a good one.
Bye.
Oh, another gift.